Operation that resulted in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro by United States is a masterclass in surgical warfare, executed with overwhelming speed and precision. The primary unit responsible for the raid was the Army's 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta, commonly known as Delta Force. These operators are the Tier 1 asset the United States calls upon for its most critical counter-terrorism and hostage rescue missions. While Delta Force conducted the ground assault, they did not act alone. The operation relied heavily on the specialized aviation support of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers. These pilots are trained to fly low and fast in complete darkness using advanced night vision technology to insert teams into hostile urban environments undetected. The entire force package was supported by the massive naval presence of the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which had been positioned in the Caribbean for months to enforce a blockade and monitor Venezuelan airspace. Flying at treetop level to avoid radar detection, a flight of MH-47G Chinooks and MH-60 Black Hawks pierced the Venezuelan coast. These were not standard military aircraft, they were highly modified platforms flown by the Night Stalkers, pilots trained to operate in zero visibility conditions. The MH-60s, specifically the direct action penetrator variants, served as the muscle of the convoy. Armed with M134 miniguns and rockets, these flying tanks provided a protective bubble around the larger Chinooks, ready to shred any ground resistance that threatened the mission. The Delta Force assault team rode inside the heavy-lift MH-47G Chinooks. These massive helicopters are the workhorses of special operations, capable of carrying fully equipped assault teams and, crucially, hauling them out quickly. As the diversionary airstrikes continued to pull Venezuelan security forces toward the military bases, the Chinooks flared into a hover over the target residence. The noise of the rotors was likely masked by the chaos of the ongoing explosions across the city. The execution of the mission began long before the first boot hit the ground. For weeks, U.S. electronic warfare aircraft, specifically EA-18G Growlers, had been jamming Venezuelan radar and communications, blinding the regime's defensive networks. On the night of the raid, this electronic silence turned into kinetic chaos. At exactly 2 o'clock local time, the operation kicked off with a series of massive coordinated diversionary strikes. Explosions rocked key military sites across Caracas, specifically targeting the La Carlota military airbase and the Fuerte Tiuna military complex. These strikes were not random, they were calculated to create panic and confusion within the Venezuelan military high command. By hitting the airbase and the military headquarters simultaneously, U.S. forces forced the local regime to focus its attention and rapid reaction forces on defending these high-profile locations. This left the actual target, the residence where Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores were staying, vulnerable and exposed. While Venezuelan soldiers scrambled to respond to the burning airbase, the real attack was happening elsewhere in the city. Under the cover of this chaos and the deafening noise of the explosions, the Night Stalkers flew their helicopters at rooftop level, navigating the complex urban terrain of Caracas. They delivered the Delta Force assault team directly to the target, utilizing the element of surprise to overwhelm the president's personal security detail. The firefight was intense but brief. Delta Force operators are trained for close-quarter battle, CQB, a method of fighting inside buildings that prioritizes speed and violence of action to neutralize threats before they can react. Crucially, the mission mandate was to capture, not kill. The United States intended to bring Maduro to face trial for narco-terrorism charges, meaning the team had to secure him alive amidst the gunfire. Once Maduro and Flores were positively identified and detained, the operation immediately shifted to the extraction phase. There was no time to linger. The assault team and their high-value prisoners boarded the waiting helicopters and lifted off. The entire ground phase of the operation lasted only minutes. Before the Venezuelan military could realize what had happened or scramble jets to intercept, the US helicopters had already cleared the city limits, ferrying the captives to a secure location outside of Venezuelan airspace. The speed of the withdrawal was absolute. By the time Vice President Delcy Rodriguez issued a statement demanding proof of life, Maduro was already in US custody, flown out to face the American judicial system. The operation proved that even in a heavily defended capital city, a precise and well-coordinated force could strike the head of state and vanish before the dust